Have you ever felt your own impulses slipping out of your control, as if your emotions were steering the wheel and you were just along for the ride? In those moments, you might catch yourself reacting before thought, driven by a sudden surge of anger, fear, or doubt. It's as if the calm center inside you has vanished, replaced by chaos you don't recognize. There is a deeper power you once held, a quiet authority over your thoughts, actions, and the direction of your life. That power is waiting to be reclaimed. For centuries, Stoic wisdom has guided individuals to forge an unbreakable inner fortress, one that no external storm can shake. Today, you'll learn 15 powerful Stoic rules that will help you rebuild that fortress. These aren't lofty theories or distant philosophies locked away in dusty scrolls. Every rule you'll discover is practical, tested by real people in real challenges, and illustrated with timeless insights from the greatest Stoic minds. Each one is a tool you can use starting now, whether you're facing a heated conversation, an unexpected setback, or the quiet battle with your own doubts. Think of this as an invitation, a personal roadmap to mastery over yourself. By the end of this journey, you'll see how to pause before you act, speak with intention, stand firm on your principles, and transform discomfort into growth. You'll begin to feel that deep-rooted confidence where your mind leads with clarity, not your impulses with confusion. If this message already resonates, I encourage you to lean in fully. In the comments below, write, "I am my own ruler," to affirm your commitment and to join a community of seekers walking the same path. When you share this video, you become a beacon for someone else who needs these truths as much as you do. Prepare yourself for practical guidance fused with heartfelt reflection. You are about to uncover the Stoic rules that will empower you to direct your life from a place of inner strength, self-respect, and genuine freedom. Stay with me through every rule, because the transformation waiting at the end could change everything. Rule 1. Observe before you move. You know that moment when your chest tightens, your thoughts accelerate, and you feel an irresistible urge to act, perhaps to lash out in anger or flee from discomfort. In that instant, you stand at a crossroads. One path follows the raw impulse, the other honors a deeper wisdom within you. Pause and breathe. Before you speak, before you step, before you react, grant yourself a single deliberate breath. In that simple pause, you reclaim leadership over your mind. You're no longer carried downstream by emotion. You become the navigator. Let your in-breath anchor you to the present, and let your out-breath remind you that you have the power to choose. Epictetus taught, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." By observing your reactions before you move, you separate the external event from your inner judgment. You see the heat of the moment for what it is, a burst of sensation, not an absolute command. Label your experience. As you feel tension rise, quietly name it: anger, fear, frustration. When you label the emotion, you create a gap, a space of awareness. In that gap, you can decide whether your next step serves your highest purpose or merely gratifies a passing urge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That quiet retreat opens the moment you observe rather than instantly react. You discover a well of calm beneath the storm on the surface, a moment of truth. Imagine you're in traffic, running late for a meeting you cannot miss. Another driver cuts you off and your heart pounds. Your instinct is to press the horn, to curse, to let rage pour out. Instead, you notice the surge. You feel the quickening pulse, the tightness in your jaw. You breathe, you name the anger, and in that simple act, you choose your response. Perhaps you adjust your route, perhaps you let go of the frustration. In that choice lies your freedom. Why it matters. When you observe before moving, you break the chain of automatic reactions forged over years. You rewrite the script moment by moment. Over time, this discipline becomes second nature. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet confidence, knowing that no sudden impulse can unseat your inner steadiness, your invitation. Today, practice this rule in something small. When you feel the pull to interrupt someone or to flee a difficult conversation, pause, breathe. Observe, name what you feel, then act with intention. Each practice strengthens your capacity to govern yourself. You are building a fortress of self-mastery, one conscious choice at a time. By observing before you move, you take the first vital step on the path to true freedom, showing yourself that your mind leads and your impulses follow. Rule 2. Master your inner voice. You carry a constant companion inside your mind, an unceasing narrator that comments on every choice, every feeling, every moment. Often, that voice speaks harshly. You'll never succeed, or you're not good enough. Left unchecked, it shapes your reality, turning every doubt into evidence and every setback into confirmation of failure. Today, you'll learn to become the master of that voice so it serves you rather than diminishes you. Become the watcher. Before you accept each inner thought as truth, take a step back and observe it. Imagine you're listening to a friend describing your day. You wouldn't believe every complaint or critique without question. Why treat your own mind differently? By watching yourself talk from a slight distance, you create space to decide which thoughts deserve attention and which deserve to be discarded. Challenge negative narration. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you hear your inner critic declare, you'll fail, ask, is this absolutely true? What evidence do I have? Often you'll find that fear is built on assumption rather than fact. Questioning these automatic stories interrupts their momentum and weakens their hold over you. Rewrite the script. After you interrupt a negative thought, replace it with one that aligns with your highest potential. If your first reaction is, I can't, transform it into, I will try. If your mind whispers, you're a fraud, counter with, I'm learning and growth takes time. Over time, these small reframes reshape the narrative of your life. You aren't fighting to silence your mind. You're inviting it to speak with honesty and compassion. Speak as your own ally. Imagine how you'd encourage a dear friend facing a challenge. You'd use warmth, understanding, and confidence in their abilities. Now turn that same tone toward yourself. Address your mistakes as opportunities. I stumbled today, but I'll learn from this. Allow kindness to guide your internal dialogue. In doing so, you strengthen a supportive ally within, a voice that celebrates your progress and steadies you through adversity. Journal to illuminate. Stoics like Seneca kept private letters to clarify their thoughts. You can do the same by writing down the most persistent messages your mind repeats. Seeing them on paper gives you the power to assess them objectively. Rewrite each entry with a Stoic affirmation, I control my reactions, or adversity refines me. This practice turns abstract self-talk into concrete commitments anchored in reason, a personal reflection. Consider a day when you hesitated to speak your truth. Notice the script running in your head. Fear of judgment, fear of failure. Now envision yourself interrupting that script, placing a firm hand on your own shoulder and saying, I choose to stand tall. Feel the shift from paralysis to purpose. That shift begins the moment you master your inner voice, your next step. For the next week, monitor your self-talk at 3 key moments. First thing in the morning, mid-afternoon slump, and before bed. When you catch a negative thought, pause and question it. Reframe it into a supportive statement. You'll soon discover how the quality of your inner dialogue shapes the quality of your life. By mastering your inner voice, you claim authorship of your story and empower yourself to write each chapter with conviction. Rule 3. Embrace voluntary discomfort. You've felt the pull to stay within your comfort zone, seeking warmth, ease, and certainty. But true growth often lives on the other side of mild discomfort, in moments when you lean into challenge instead of recoiling. By choosing small, voluntary hardships, you train your mind and body to stand firm when life's greater trials arrive. View discomfort as training. Seneca observed, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When you step deliberately into a cold shower, a moment of silence without your phone, or a brief fast, you aren't seeking punishment. You're practicing resilience. Each chosen hardship is like lifting a weight. It may feel heavy in the moment, but it grows your inner muscle for life's true burdens. A personal anecdote. Imagine you begin your morning with a 2-minute cold rinse. At first, your breath catches and your skin protests. Yet as you endure, a calm clarity settles in. You carry that poise into your day, handling unexpected stress at work with steadiness, greeting criticism without shrinking. That brief discomfort becomes the foundation for unshakable composure. From choice to habit, start with something manageable. Choose one small act each day that nudges your boundaries. Maybe you sit in silence for 5 minutes before answering messages. Perhaps you skip the sugar in your afternoon coffee. With each act, notice how your tolerance for challenge grows. What once felt uncomfortable becomes a familiar friend, a signal that you are strengthening your core. Philosophical insight. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Part of what you would be is someone who meets difficulty without complaint. By embracing voluntary discomfort, you align your daily habits with the image of your strongest self. You prove to yourself that hardship does not defeat you. It refines you. The ripple effect. When you willingly face small trials, you diminish the power of unexpected hardships. A tense conversation, a sudden deadline, or a physical setback will no longer catch you unprepared. Your voluntary practice has shown you that you can endure and even grow from discomfort. Because you chose to welcome it, you know how to navigate it. Practical steps. Identify one discomfort to practice each morning. Make it simple but impactful. Commit for 1 week, journaling how each session feels and how you carry that feeling forward. Reflect nightly on how facing that discomfort shifted your mood, focus, or confidence. Over time, these small acts coalesce into an unbreakable habit, the willingness to lean into life's friction. You begin to feel a quiet pride each time you choose practice over ease. Your call. Tonight, before you sleep, plan tomorrow's voluntary challenge. Visualize the moment you'll feel resistance and imagine yourself meeting it calmly. When the time comes, breathe, step forward, and observe how your spirit expands. In these choices, you demonstrate daily that your character is stronger than any comfort you surrender. Rule 4. Act from unshakable principles. When the currents of emotions surge, it's easy to drift wherever the tide carries you. But what if you held a compass so true that no storm, no fleeting desire could divert your course? Acting from unshakable principles empowers you to live with consistency and integrity, regardless of circumstance. Define your North Star. Begin by choosing 3 or 4 guiding principles, values that resonate so deeply they feel like an intrinsic part of your identity. Perhaps your pillars are honesty, courage, compassion, and discipline. Write them down in clear, affirmative statements. I live with honesty, I face challenges with courage, and so on. These aren't just words on paper, they are commitments you make to yourself. Epictetus urged, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. By consciously declaring your principles, you summon the courage to act in alignment with the person you aspire to become. This alignment becomes your shield against impulsive behavior and wavering resolve. Live beyond mood. Imagine you wake up feeling drained, your motivation is low, and every task feels like a mountain. Without a firm principle anchoring you, you might justify skipping your morning routine or postponing an important conversation. But when you act from commitment rather than mood, you rise early, you speak your truth, and you show up fully, even when it feels difficult. In that consistency, you discover a quiet pride far stronger than temporary comfort, a moment of choice. Picture a scenario at work. A colleague takes credit for your idea and anger flares. Your impulse might demand confrontation or passive resentment, but your principle of integrity guides you to respond with calm resolve, addressing the issue directly with facts, not drama. You uphold your value without sacrificing composure. In doing so, you not only protect your self-respect, but also earn the respect of others who witness your steadiness. The power of preparation. Each evening, review the principles you've written. Reflect on moments when you honored them and moments when you faltered. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, be not swept off your feet by appearances. By reviewing your principles daily, you reinforce their authority over fleeting impulses and reinforce the habit of principled action. Small acts, grand impact. Principles aren't reserved for dramatic crises. They guide your smallest choices. Will you speak honestly when feedback is uncomfortable? Will you extend compassion to someone who irritates you? Will you persist in a task when it feels tedious? Each decision, no matter how minor, becomes an opportunity to reinforce the framework of your character. Your invitation. Tonight, take a moment to craft your own set of 3 to 4 principles. Phrase them in the present tense as living truths. Tomorrow, before you make any significant decision, big or small, pause and ask, which action best aligns with my principle of principle name? Let that question guide you. With each principled choice, you build an unshakable core. You learn that true freedom is not the absence of restraint, but the mastery of your own character. When you act from unshakable principles, no external force can sway the course you've chosen for your life. Rule 5. Nourish virtue. Starve vice. Cultivate your inner garden. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought, habit, and impulse is a seed. When you water generosity, patience, and courage, those virtues bloom. When you feed envy, laziness, or mistrust, those vices take root and choke your potential. Your responsibility is simple yet profound. Choose carefully what you nourish. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Seneca. Seneca reminds us that virtue requires active engagement. If you avoid challenge or temptation, you never cultivate the qualities that define your best self. By intentionally inviting discomfort in small doses, you starve the comforts that lull you into complacency. Spot the weeds. Begin by observing where your energy goes each day. Do you find yourself scrolling social media when you long for productivity? Does a critical thought about a colleague grow into a pattern of resentment? Those patterns are weeds in your garden. Recognizing them is the first step. Once you see the unhealthy growth, you can choose not to water it. A story of choice. Consider a friend who struggled with self-doubt before every presentation. Each anxious thought was fed by replays of past mistakes. One day, she decided to replace that ritual with gratitude. Before stepping on stage, she listed 3 things she'd done well that week. Over time, that simple act starved the vice of insecurity and nourished the virtue of confidence. Her presentations transformed, and so did her life. Feed what you want to grow. Whenever you catch yourself indulging a negative habit, interrupt it with a deliberate act of virtue. If frustration with a loved one rises, pause and list their strengths. If you feel tempted to procrastinate, spend 2 minutes planning your next action. Each choice to focus on what uplifts you weakens the vice you seek to overcome. Daily harvest. At the end of each day, write down 1 vice you starved and 1 virtue you fed. Did you let impatience drive your responses, or did you practice patience by listening? Did you give in to comfort, avoiding a hard task, or did you nourish discipline by taking action anyway? Tracking these small victories builds momentum. Align with Stoic wisdom. Epictetus taught, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." Understanding the true value of virtue gives you the power to choose it. When you speak of kindness, reflect on its impact. When you praise integrity, feel its weight. This depth of awareness makes each act of nourishment intentional, your invitation. Tomorrow morning, choose 1 virtue you wish to amplify: compassion, honesty, resilience, and identify 1 vice you will ignore. Throughout the day, return to that commitment. When you nourish virtue, you draw life's richest fruits: self-respect, inner calm, and the confidence that comes from knowing you tend your own garden with care. By consciously nourishing virtue and starving vice, you transform not just your actions, but the very soil of your character. Over time, your garden flourishes into a sanctuary of strength and tranquility, a reflection of your truest self. Rule 6. Detach from emotional labels. When you say to yourself, "I am angry," or "I am a failure," you fuse your identity to a passing feeling or event. That subtle shift turns an experience into a prison because you begin to believe that emotion defines you. True freedom emerges when you learn to observe your feelings without naming yourself by them. Feelings are visitors, not residents. Every emotion rises and falls like clouds drifting across the sky. You are the sky. It remains vast and undisturbed beneath the shifting weather. When fear surges, notice it as a visitor. I feel fear now, not I am fear. In that moment of distinction, you reclaim the space to respond with clarity instead of reacting on autopilot. Seneca wisely wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." By clinging to labels like "I'm defeated," you deceive yourself into believing that your current state is permanent, when in reality, it's transient. Recognizing emotions as separate from your core self dissolves that deception. Name to create distance. Begin each day by practicing simple labeling. When frustration surfaces, perhaps triggered by a late bus or an unkind comment, pause and whisper to yourself, "Anger is here." Then ask, "What is this anger teaching me?" That pause transforms a reactive moment into an opportunity for insight. You learn that anger is not the master. You are. A story of release. Imagine you're preparing for a difficult conversation with a loved one. Anxiety knots your stomach. In the past, you might have said, "I'm an anxious person," and retreated. Today, you notice the knot and say, "I feel anxiety," allowing you to breathe deeply and approach the conversation with calm presence. In that shift, you no longer avoid connection. You lean into it with compassion. Embrace the observer within. Marcus Aurelius instructed himself, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That retreat is your observing mind. Whenever a strong emotion arises, ask, who is noticing this feeling? You'll discover a silent witness untouched by any emotion. Cultivating that witnessing stance strengthens your sense of self beyond passing moods. Practical exercises. Morning reflection. Spend 2 minutes naming any lingering emotion, stress, anticipation, excitement. Observe their qualities, intensity, location in the body, duration. Midday check-in. When you sense a mood shift, pause and label the feeling. Ask, is this feeling driving me, or am I choosing my response? Evening journaling. Write down 3 emotions you experienced and how labeling them changed your reaction. Your invitation. Tonight, before you drift into sleep, recall one moment today when emotion felt overwhelming. Replay it in your mind, but reframe it. Instead of, I was angry, say, anger visited me. Notice how that simple reframe frees you from the weight of identification. Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with your inner world. You'll find that emotions no longer grip you like shackles, but flow through you like passing weather. In that freedom, you reclaim your power, the power to choose your response, to act with wisdom, and to stand firm in the unshakable self beneath every feeling. Rule 7. Speak with purposeful silence. When you feel the urge to respond immediately, whether in a heated conversation or a silent scroll through social media, remember that silence can be your greatest ally. By choosing when and how to speak, you conserve your energy and direct your influence with intention. Embrace the power of listening. Epictetus reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. When you honor that wisdom, you give yourself the gift of understanding before reacting. Every moment you remain silent is an opportunity to gather insight, to feel the subtle shifts in others' words and emotions, and to respond with greater clarity. Pause before you speak. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone challenges your idea. Your first impulse might be to defend yourself, to prove you're right. Instead, you notice the tension rise in your chest. You close your mouth for a heartbeat, and in that pause, you hear nuances you would have missed. You choose your words carefully, speaking not to react, but to contribute thoughtfully. That difference transforms a defensive volley into a meaningful dialogue. A story of restraint. Consider the leader who, in the face of harsh criticism, simply nodded and asked a clarifying question. Her silence disarmed the critic, who soon softened and offered constructive feedback. By speaking with purpose rather than volume, she demonstrated strength without aggression and earned respect rather than resentment. Speak only what serves. Before you reply to an email or share a comment online, ask yourself, does this message add value? Am I seeking understanding or merely satisfying an urge? If your response drifts toward blame, venting, or ego, let your silence speak instead. Save your words for moments when they can heal, inform, or inspire. Cultivate thoughtful expression. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Extend that principle to your speech. If your words aren't necessary or kind, hold them back. This discipline elevates your presence. People begin to notice that when you speak, it matters. Practical steps. Daily silence practice. Dedicate 5 minutes each morning to sit quietly without distractions. Notice the thoughts that arise, but keep your lips sealed. This trains you to tolerate stillness and resist reactive speech. Conversation check-in. During your next conversation, set an intention to listen for 3 full sentences before responding. Notice how this deepens your connection and shapes your response. Before you post, create a mental pause button. When you compose a social media comment or email, wait 10 seconds. Use that time to refine your tone or reconsider if a response is necessary. Your invitation. Tonight, reflect on a recent moment when you spoke in haste. Replay it in your mind, then imagine the effect of purposeful silence. Feel how respect and understanding could have replaced tension. By choosing silence with purpose, you reclaim control of your voice. You become someone whose words carry weight, whose listening invites trust, and whose presence is felt even in stillness. In that space between thought and speech, you discover true mastery of self-expression. Rule 8. Premeditate your obstacles. You've likely faced moments when life's trials arrive unannounced. A sudden setback at work, an unexpected conflict with someone you care about, or a wave of self-doubt that leaves you frozen. In those moments, surprise can feel overwhelming. But what if you could face hardship as a familiar companion rather than an ambush? Premeditating your obstacles trains your mind to expect challenge, so you meet adversity with poise and purpose. Embrace the Stoic practice. Seneca taught the exercise of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning he would imagine the day's potential pains, losing possessions, enduring criticism, encountering frustration. By mentally rehearsing these possibilities, he stripped them of their power to shock him. He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary, he wrote. When you anticipate difficulty, you transform surprise into preparedness. Visualize with intention. Begin by finding a quiet moment before your day starts. Close your eyes and picture 3 possible challenges: a heated email demanding your attention, a personal plan that falls through, or a fleeting sense of insecurity. See the details, the words you might read, the emotions you might feel, the questions you'll ask yourself. Then imagine yourself responding with calm resolve, breathing steadily, choosing your actions, maintaining inner steadiness. A story of quiet confidence. Imagine you're an entrepreneur about to pitch a new idea. Ahead of the meeting, you rehearse worst-case scenarios. A critical investor challenging your numbers, a technical glitch derailing your presentation, or sudden self-doubt creeping in. When one of those scenarios unfolds, a skeptical question from the audience, you meet it without panic. Because you've already walked through that moment in your mind, your reaction is measured and confident. You steer the conversation back on track, and your preparation becomes the foundation of your composure. Why anticipation empowers? When you premeditate obstacles, you remove the element of surprise. What once felt like chaos becomes a familiar scene where you know your lines. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you can remove no obstacle more quickly than by deciding to walk through it. By deciding in advance how you will face adversity, you shorten the distance between challenge and your thoughtful response. Practical steps. Morning visualization. Spend 5 minutes each day imagining 1 or 2 realistic challenges you might face. Script your response. For each challenge, decide how you will breathe, what questions you will ask, and what guiding principle you will rely on. Reflect and adjust. In the evening, note which predictions came true and how your premeditation helped. Refine your practice for tomorrow. Your invitation. Tonight, before sleep, choose one upcoming situation that worries you. Talk with a colleague, a personal project, or even a difficult emotion. Close your eyes and replay it with mindful detail. Then see yourself responding with dignity and self-mastery. Through this daily discipline, you cultivate a mind that greets adversity not with fear, but with readiness. By premeditating your obstacles, you transform uncertainty into your greatest ally, arming yourself with the foresight and calm needed to navigate whatever comes your way. Rule 9. Practice radical non-attachment. You may cherish people, possessions, and outcomes with all your heart, and yet those attachments can become chains that bind your peace to forces beyond your control. Radical non-attachment is not about indifference. It's about embracing what you love fully, while acknowledging that everything in life is impermanent. In that acceptance, you find true freedom, understand what's on loan. Epictetus taught, "Remember that you are an actor in a play, of such a kind as the author chooses. You don't own the script, you inhabit your role for a time. When you treat relationships, health, and success as precious loans, you engage more deeply, because you're aware that each moment is a gift, not a guarantee." A story of letting go. Imagine you finally land a promotion you've worked toward for years. The pride you feel is real, yet beneath it lurks the anxiety. What if I lose this? If you cling too tightly, every challenge on the job can feel like an existential threat. But if you practice non-attachment, knowing you did your best and that external events can shift, you perform with grace rather than fear. Should the promotion slip away, you can say, "I gave it my all," and keep moving forward. Balance love with release. Seneca advised, "Endure what you cannot avoid. Attachment can blind you to life's ebb and flow." When you love someone, you may fear the day they leave or change. Practice gratitude instead. Cherish their presence now, speak your appreciation, and welcome each interaction without hoarding it in your mind. As seasons change, you remain grounded, accepting that loss is part of life's rhythm. Detach but don't withdraw. Non-attachment isn't retreat into isolation. It's a clear-eyed engagement. You still care deeply, recommend advice, and invest effort, but the outcome no longer dictates your inner calm. If you pour all your energy into a project, then step back and release your grip on the result. This mindset reduces anxiety and helps you adapt if circumstances shift. Exercises in non-attachment. Daily reflection. At evening's end, list 3 things you valued today, then mentally release them. Picture them drifting away like leaves on water. Feel the lightness that comes with conscious letting go. Gratitude. Pause. Before entering any meaningful interaction, silently note, "This connection is a gift, not a possession." Bring that appreciation into every word and gesture. Outcome, separation. When working toward a goal, repeat to yourself, "I control my effort, not the outcome." Focus on action over result. Why it matters. When you detach from outcomes, you no longer oscillate between elation and despair. You cultivate equanimity, a steady center that remains unshaken whether praise or criticism comes your way. Your capacity for joy deepens because it's not tethered to fleeting circumstances. Your invitation. Tonight, choose one relationship or goal where you feel overly tied to the outcome. Reflect on what you would gain by loving or striving without ownership. Breathe into the space between desire and fulfillment. Notice how that space becomes a haven of freedom where you can act with both passion and peace. By practicing radical non-attachment, you learn that true joy and authority reside not in what you hold, but in the openness with which you hold life's moments, and then graciously let them go. Rule 10. Uphold secret discipline. The truest test of your character unfolds when no one else is watching, when temptation whispers excuses and comfort beckons you to relent. Upholding secret discipline means honoring the promises you make to yourself, even in the quiet corners of your day, forging the integrity that carries you through life's storms. The power of private commitments. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Your private choices, waking before dawn to reflect, resisting the lure of an extra hour in bed, sitting at your desk when focus wanes, define you more than any public accolade. When you keep your word to yourself, you build an inner fortress of trust that no external force can breach. A moment of reckoning. Imagine it's late in the evening. You promised yourself 10 minutes of reading a meaningful passage, yet fatigue tugs at your eyelids. The sofa calls, Netflix beckons. In that moment, when no one else cares whether you read or not, you stand at the crossroads of discipline and indulgence. Choosing to open the book, to honor your commitment, reinforces a deeper truth. You can rely on yourself, come what may. Invisible strength. Seneca observed, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your secret disciplines are the endings of old habits, giving up sugar in your coffee, turning off notifications at midday, or committing to a silent walk before sleep. Though unseen by others, these acts accumulate into a daily testament. You are fully present to your own standards, a story of quiet resolve. Consider an athlete who trains at dawn, long before teammates arrive. No crowds cheer, no Instagram stories capture the effort. Yet, that unseen training becomes the foundation of victory on the day of competition. In the same way, your private rituals, journaling, meditation, or a disciplined workout equip you to meet public challenges with unwavering strength. Cultivate your secret practices. Select 3 core actions. Identify 3 daily practices integral to your growth: waking early, reading a philosophical passage, or mindful breathing. Schedule them as non-negotiables. Block time in your calendar, just as you would for an important meeting. Guard these moments fiercely, even when distractions arise. Track your consistency. Each evening, mark whether you upheld your private disciplines. If you stumble, reflect briefly on the barrier, then recommit the next morning. Why it matters. Your secret discipline becomes the anchor that steadies you when life's unpredictable winds howl. Because you've learned to stand firm in solitude, you face public pressures with calm confidence. The world cannot easily sway someone whose integrity is self-secured. Your invitation. Tonight, choose one personal commitment you've neglected. Perhaps a page of journaling, a short cold shower, or a quiet moment of reflection. Tomorrow, before the noise of the day begins, fulfill that promise. Feel the quiet swell of pride that comes from honoring your word to yourself. In the silent victories of private discipline, you forge an unbreakable bond with your own character. Over time, these hidden triumphs become the bedrock of your public life, revealing the profound truth that true mastery is first won in the unseen depths of your daily choices. Rule 11. Define and align your identity. You are more than a collection of actions or fleeting moods. You are the architect of your own story. When you define who you are at your core, your values, your purpose, you gain a guiding star that shines through every decision, every challenge. Aligning your identity with your highest ideals transforms daily choices into expressions of your true self. Claim your essence. Begin by asking yourself, who do I choose to be? Don't search for labels imposed by society or family. Look inward. Perhaps you aim to be someone of unwavering courage, relentless compassion, or steadfast integrity. Write down 3 statements in the present tense. I am a courageous soul. I am a vessel of kindness. I am unwavering in integrity. These statements aren't aspirations. They are declarations of your identity here and now. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, within you lies a stillness and a sanctuary to which you can retreat at any time. That sanctuary is your true nature. By claiming your identity, you carve out that retreat in even the most turbulent moments. Live your declaration. Once you've defined your identity, every decision becomes an opportunity to embody it. If your declaration is, "I am courageous," then facing a difficult conversation, you speak with honesty despite fear. If your identity is, "I am compassionate," then you listen without judgment when someone shares hardship. In each moment you ask, what would the person I choose to be do right now? A story of transformation. Imagine someone who saw themselves as indecisive, always deferring to others. They decided instead, "I am a decisive leader." Each morning they reminded themselves of that declaration. When presented with choices, what project to tackle, how to respond to feedback, they paused and aligned their action with that identity. Over time, indecision lost its grip. Their self-image had shifted, and with it, their behavior naturally followed. Guard against drift. Seneca cautioned, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Without a clear sense of self, you drift at the mercy of external influences, opinions, trends, fleeting desires. Your identity is your port. Revisit your declarations regularly. Morning reflection and evening journaling can anchor you. When you stray, a simple glance at your written statements draws you back to center. Embodied practice. Morning alignment. Each day, recite your 3 identity declarations aloud. Feel their resonance in your chest as you speak. Decision compass. When faced with a choice, ask, does this action serve the person I declare myself to be? Let your identity guide you. Evening reflection. Journal one moment when you lived your declaration and one moment you drifted. What can you learn to steer closer tomorrow? Your invitation. Tonight, write down your 3 identity statements and place them where you can see them, on your mirror, your desk, or your phone screen. Tomorrow, let them be the lens through which you view every interaction and choice. When you consistently align your actions with the identity you define, you step into the fullness of your own narrative. No longer swayed by external winds, you chart your course with purpose and integrity. In that alignment, you discover the profound power of a life lived true to yourself. Rule 12. Focus only on the controllable. You cannot command the weather or dictate another person's choices, yet so much of our energy goes into fretting over what lies beyond our grasp. By directing your attention exclusively to what you can influence, your thoughts, your effort, your attitude, you conserve precious strength and craft meaningful change where it truly counts. Discern your sphere of influence. Epictetus reminded himself, some things are within our control and others not. Begin by listing your concerns today. Which items on that list can you directly affect? Your actions, your words, and the standards you set for yourself fall inside your circle. Everything else, other people's opinions, unexpected delays, even past events, resides beyond it. Recognizing this distinction frees you from unnecessary struggle. Let go of the rest. Imagine you're preparing a presentation. You can control your preparation, the clarity of your slides, the strength of your arguments, your practice sessions. You cannot control the audience's reaction or the equipment malfunctioning. When you accept that some outcomes aren't in your hands, you reduce anxiety and sharpen your focus on what truly matters, your readiness and your mindset. A story of intentional focus. Consider an athlete who faced a crucial race. Instead of obsessing over the competitor's training plans or the weather forecast, she concentrated on her own pace and breathing technique. By narrowing her focus to what she could control, her form, her nutrition, and her mental rehearsal, she ran with confidence, unhindered by distractions. Her performance was a testament to the power of directing attention where it truly belongs. Transform anxiety into action. When worry strikes, ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, gently release the thought and return to an actionable task. If the answer is yes, convert worry into steps. Outline your plan, set a timeline, and begin. This simple practice transforms anxiety's paralysis into purposeful motion. Cultivate an inner checklist. Morning audit. Write down 3 things you aim to influence today: your focus, your attitude, your response to stress. Midday course. Correction. Pause and review. Are you ruminating on the uncontrollable? If so, realign your thoughts with what you can shape. Evening reflection. Identify one moment when you let go of something outside your control and one moment when you channeled your energy into a controllable action. Celebrate both insights. Philosophical perspective. Marcus Aurelius counseled, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength emerges when you practice letting go of what you cannot change and committing fully to what you can." Your invitation. Tonight, select one worry that's been lingering, perhaps about a conversation tomorrow or a deadline next week. Ask, what part of this can I truly shape? Make a list of your controllable tasks and release the rest to the universe. Notice how your mind relaxes, your energy consolidates, and your resolve grows. By focusing only on the controllable, you transform scattered anxiety into concentrated effort. You learn that real power lies not in bending the world to your will, but in mastering your own will to act with clarity, purpose, and calm. Rule 13. Commit to daily self-examination. Begin and end each day with a quiet moment of honest reflection. When you examine your actions, thoughts, and emotions with compassion and rigor, you illuminate the patterns that shape your life and empower yourself to course correct in real time. Embrace the evening review. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." Likewise, at dusk, take time to ask, how did I show up today? In that gentle inquiry, you transform hindsight into wisdom. You acknowledge your triumphs, you honor your intentions, and you uncover opportunities for growth without judgment. Ask the hard questions. When the day closes, locate a quiet space and pose 3 simple questions. Where did I act with integrity? Where did I react from impulse? And how can I improve tomorrow? Don't rush through these questions. Instead, let each one sink in. Feel the weight of your answers in your chest, then breathe, receiving each insight as a gift that guides your next step. A story of awakening. Imagine a teacher who ends her day by reviewing each interaction with her students. She notices a moment when impatience crept in as she corrected an error too sharply. That recognition stings, but she embraces it. Tomorrow, she vows to pause and offer encouragement before critique. This nightly habit turns small missteps into catalysts for compassion, refining her character one evening at a time. Balance. Praise with accountability. Self-examination isn't self-flagellation. It's a balance of celebrating where you honored your values, perhaps speaking calmly under stress, and owning where you fell short, maybe losing temper in a traffic jam. Seneca counseled, "To wish to be well is a part of becoming well. In the same vein, to wish for improvement is the first step toward it." Practical framework. Morning intention. Before you rise, silently affirm your focus. Today, I will choose patience, or I will act with kindness. Midday, check-in. At lunch, pause for a minute. Reflect. Am I following my intention? Adjust if needed. Evening audit. Write in a journal 3 bullet points: a success, a challenge, and a commitment for tomorrow. Cultivate emotional honesty. When you record your reflections, name the emotions behind each action: pride, regret, compassion, frustration. This naming creates distance. As Epictetus taught, between you and your impulses. In that space, you choose the narrative you carry forward, learning rather than condemning, your invitation. Tonight, before sleep steals your attention, close your eyes and replay one pivotal moment of the day. A conversation, a decision, a silent struggle. Ask yourself, what did I learn? Breathe deeply and admire your courage to look within. Then jot down a single insight and a specific action you will take at tomorrow's dawn. By committing to daily self-examination, you transform routine into ritual, turning ordinary nights into workshops of the soul. Each insight you harvest becomes the seed of your next day's strength. Over time, this practice weaves a tapestry of continuous growth, revealing the remarkable truth that true mastery begins with the simple act of looking inward. Rule 14. Own every choice. You hold the pen that scripts your life story. Each moment, every decision, no matter how small, shapes the person you become. Owning every choice means stepping out of blame and into full responsibility, recognizing that your power lies not in external circumstances, but in how you respond to them. Acknowledge your agency. Epictetus declared, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." At its heart, this teaching reminds you that feeling powerless is itself a choice. When you own your responses, you reclaim agency. You see that while you cannot always control what happens, you can control your stance, your words, and your actions in every situation. A moment of truth. Imagine you miss an important deadline. It's easy to point fingers. Technology failed, a coworker was late, circumstances stacked against you. But in shifting focus from blame to responsibility, you ask, what could I have done differently? Perhaps you set smaller milestones or communicated earlier. That insight empowers you to improve rather than to languish in frustration. Release the victim narrative, Seneca cautioned. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor. When you blame external factors, you give away your internal wealth, your resilience, and creativity. Choosing to see each obstacle as a prompt for learning builds strength. Instead of feeling denied or wronged, you discover new pathways forward, a story of radical ownership. Consider a manager who faced a revolt in her team after a poorly communicated change. She could have blamed resistance or organizational turmoil. Instead, she took ownership. She admitted her misstep, asked for feedback, and co-created a clearer plan. Her humility and responsibility turned discord into collaboration, reinforcing trust and morale. Practical steps to own your choices. Pause and reflect. When you feel upset or frustrated, stop. Breathe and identify the internal response fueling your emotion, fear, impatience, insecurity. Ask empowering questions. Replace, "Why is this happening to me?" with "What can I do now?" or "What lesson can I draw?" This shift moves you from victimhood to leadership of your own life. Commit to action. For every setback, define a next step. Send that email, revise your plan, practice that skill. Even small actions strengthen your sense of mastery. Integrate ownership into daily life. Each evening, list one choice you made that aligned with your highest values and one you wish you'd handled differently. Thank yourself for the choice you honored, and lean into curiosity rather than self-criticism for the other. Ask, how will I own that moment tomorrow? Your invitation. Tonight, recall a recent moment of regret. Replay it gently, then ask, what choice did I have in that moment? Breathe into your answer and recognize the power you always possess to respond differently next time. When you own every choice, you step into the role of your own champion. You transform life's unpredictable currents into a canvas for your integrity and growth. In that ownership lies your greatest freedom and the enduring strength of character that Stoic philosophy celebrates. Rule 15. Guard your inner serenity. Amid life's ceaseless noise, unexpected conflicts, urgent demands, relentless distractions, your inner peace can become the rarest treasure. Guarding your inner serenity means creating a sanctuary within, an unshakable core that remains calm, regardless of external turbulence. Cultivate your mental refuge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Withdraw into yourself and look. And if you do not find yourself beautiful yet, act as does the creator of a statue that is to be made beautiful." He cuts away here, he smooths there. By carving out moments of stillness, you sculpt your inner refuge. Whether through brief pauses, mindful breathing, or intentional solitude, you preserve the calm that fuels clarity and resilience. Story of a quiet mind. Imagine you're driving home after a tense day at work. The radio blares with traffic reports, your inbox pings with fresh demands, and every red light feels like a countdown to another frustration. Instead of succumbing, you close your eyes for a few breaths at a stoplight. You notice the rhythm of your breath, feel the steering wheel's texture, and remind yourself, this moment need not steal your peace. When you arrive home, your presence is whole. You've protected your serenity through a simple practice of awareness. Set boundaries like a guard. Seneca advised, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In guarding your serenity, you learn to say no to activities, conversations, or digital noise that erode your calm. You establish non-negotiable intervals, perhaps an hour each evening without screens or a weekend morning walk in quiet reflection. These boundaries are not rigid walls, but protective patterns that honor your need for renewal. Anchor in anchors of calm. Identify sensory anchors that restore you. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the sensation of water on your skin, or the sound of wind through leaves. When stress mounts, call upon one anchor, close your eyes and recall it fully. This mental return to calm enables you to reset your nervous system and maintain serenity even amid chaos. Practical practice. Midday pause. Schedule a 3-minute serenity break after lunch. Close your eyes and focus on your breath, letting tension release with each exhale. Evening ritual. Before bed, spend 5 minutes listing 3 moments you protected your calm today. Perhaps you declined a needless argument or took a walk instead of checking email. Digital discipline. Designate one daily window when notifications are off and screens are closed. Use that time for reading, journaling, or simple presence. Why serenity matters. When you guard your inner calm, you make decisions from a place of centered strength rather than reactive anxiety. You preserve the ability to listen deeply, to act with discernment, and to engage with the world without being overwhelmed by its chaos. Your invitation. Tonight, find a quiet spot and hold your hands over your heart. Breathe slowly and feel the rise and fall beneath your palms. As you exhale, imagine stress flowing out, leaving a reservoir of stillness within. Carry that stillness with you into tomorrow's moments, knowing that no matter the storm outside, your inner serenity is your steadfast home. By zealously guarding your inner peace, you honor the Stoic promise that true freedom begins in the mind. In that sanctuary, you stand unshaken, ready to face each day with unwavering calm and profound clarity. Conclusion. You've walked through 15 powerful Stoic rules, each one a stepping stone on the path to unshakable self-mastery. From observing before you move to guarding your inner serenity, these practices invite you to reclaim authority over your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately, your life. Remember, mastery is not a destination, but a daily commitment. A breath before reaction, a question before judgment, a moment of stillness in chaos. Every time you pause to choose virtue over vice, every time you define your identity and own your choices, you strengthen the foundation of your inner fortress. And with each sunrise, you have the opportunity to recommit to these principles, to live with intention, integrity, and unwavering calm. If these insights have resonated with you, join our community on the Stoic philosophy. Hit subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson in resilience, wisdom, and mindful living. Together, we'll continue this journey, one deliberate choice at a time, toward a life defined not by circumstance but by the strength of our own character.